Welcome back again. In the earlier video, this is what I have written. If you remember, we shall proceed from that. What we have done, we have identified the characteristics of a redox reaction, and the example that we have taken was zinc plus copper plus reaction, which was taking place spontaneously. And spontaneous reactions are immediately understood with the help of delta G. Delta G being negative is the characteristic feature of spontaneous reactions. So we shall take up those reactions which fall in the first category. Let us go into details of that. I am having here all those redox reactions where delta G is negative. And incidentally, all those reactions we can club them together and call them with a common name. They are galvanic cells. Galvanic cells. Galvanic cells. So what we have discussed few minutes back is nothing but a very good example for galvanic cell. Let us take up that example and probe the features of a galvanic cell, right? And the importance of galvanic cell, as you might have realized, is I am using this particular reaction to make electrons move from one side to another side. That is, as the chemical reaction is taking place, electrons are also moving. And whenever electrons are moving, that means I am generating electric current. That is, the principle of galvanic cell is I am converting a chemical energy to electrical energy. Must be having lot of utility without doubt. A chemical energy getting converted to electrical energy. Now we shall probe the same reaction in greater detail now. Fundamentally, the beauty of science is the idea is very clear for us by this time. What is the idea, please? I have taken the reaction like this. I am writing the Bailey equation now, no longer the diagram. This is my zinc and this is copper plus 2, and it got converted to zinc plus 2 and copper in the zero state. This is the reaction already we have seen. That means in that container, if you keep in the background of your understanding of this topic, electrons are moving from zinc to copper. Don't you think so? Electrons are moving. So this is the idea. And this idea I must be able to convert a device now. That is, I am trying to apply this idea, therefore a concept, into a device, therefore a technological extension of my fundamental sciences here. So I am trying to do this now. What I am doing now right now, trying to follow this the above reaction, above beaker. Now I have divided two parts here. In one half, I am showing with the help of an experimental setup the two half reactions of the galvanic cell. Instead of taking zinc directly dipped into copper sulfate solution, we slightly change the setup now. I am taking here first beaker, this is my second beaker. Therefore, one deals with the zinc half reaction, other deals with copper half reaction. It becomes very clear for you if I draw like that. So I'll be taking here one solution which is zinc sulfate. But the real species that is responsible is only zinc ion, therefore I'll write that much only. Otherwise, the solution is zinc sulfate dissolved in water. Similarly, I'll take one zinc rod here. This is zinc rod. The earlier reaction now I am divided two parts, such that you must have this ability of converting an idea to a technological device. In the next beaker, I am taking here copper sulfate solution. This has no color, copper sulfate here has color, so I am writing the relevant species copper plus 2. But remember, this is nothing but copper sulfate solution, aqueous solution. In that, I will be taking a copper rod, which is reddish in color. This is copper, red colored rod. I dip into the solution. Now, if they are two independent species, no reaction is possible because the same element in two different states have taken here. This is zero state and this is the ionic state. This is the zero state and this is the ionic state, copper plus 2. This is my copper plus 2. Therefore, after some time, the movement of electron across the electrode attains some equilibrium. Therefore, the electron movement is there only. After some time, it comes to an equilibrium. Therefore, we have no role to play there. Now, if I connect both the containers, then I'll be able to carry the redox reaction that I was referring to earlier. For example, if I take this and give a connection externally through a wire, and let us imagine I put a bulb here and connect it back to copper, that is, I have indicated the flow of electrons. So from zinc, they are moving to this zinc to this. That's what you have seen in the earlier example. Now, what about the connectivity here? The connectivity is shown with a tube like this. The details of that I will talk later on, but through this tube, which is called as U-tube, as you can make out from the shape, by which we build up a contact between both the half cells, the ion movement must be allowed. So ion movement must be going through these containers. Above, electrons are moving. If you remember correctly, electrical conductance is due to electrons or due to ions. Therefore, once I have both the provisions taken care of, I think the circuit is completed. If what we have imagined earlier is correct, again we can try to confirm now. What is the thing that we imagined? Electrons are moving from zinc to copper. If they are moving from here to here and the circuit is completed, you see the bulb glows. Or you can keep an ammeter and measure what is the what the voltage that is passing there, amperes that is passing there. So this is a beautiful device. That means what am I doing here? Am I not creating electric current here? Do you understand the importance of electrochemistry purely from a application point of view? I am converting chemical energy to electrical energy. That is the principle of galvanic cell. Therefore, there is again a gradient for the electron movement, a gradient. Electrons are moving from this zinc to copper system. And to identify the electron movement, we must have some measure, some quantity by which if I can refer to that quantity, I can tell, okay, whether we can construct galvanic cell with these two specified half cells or not. The next point is, we are now trying to go beyond zinc and copper example or sodium and chlorine example. Because redox reactions are many of them. How do we understand them? We cannot take each one of them, try to understand them. Now, what we are going to do is, we are trying to build up a new concept now as part of further understanding of the galvanic cell. The first thing that you must keep in mind is, electrons are moving because there is a slope. This movement of electron is indicated by term electromotive force or electrode potential. I am repeating. Is electron moving from zinc to copper? Yes. That means there is a slope for electron. This is an English language I am using here. Or we can say the electrode potential values indicate electron can move from this half of the reaction to other half of the reaction. So electrode potentials is the concept right now we are trying to understand. Hope this is clear till this point for all of us. So what is electrode potential? Here try to follow. We will try to again go back to redox reaction, but instead of taking the entire reaction, I'll take only half reaction. Only half reaction. Let it be oxidation part or reduction part. But once you write the half reaction, what is the advantage I am getting here? In a half reaction, I must specify electrons. In a full reaction, they get cancelled out. No, I am not coming to that stage now. To understand electrode potential, I am focusing totally on the half reaction. Now, if you take again the same reaction, what are the two half reactions involved here? I am rubbing this diagram here. If I am taking zinc to start with, What is the half reaction involved for zinc? Zinc loses, and this is the reaction. That means, is it undergoing oxidation, zinc? Yes. That means the corresponding electrode potential is an oxidation potential, obviously. Oxidation potential. And you are also aware this is taking place spontaneously. So the corresponding electrode potential E, that is the symbol for that. Normally, for the sake of uniformity, we fix up some conditions, assign some conditions under which we study this movement of electron. Those specified conditions are called as standard conditions. What are the standard conditions? In this particular case, I will maintain a temperature of 25 degrees centigrade, correct? And I take the solution of 1 molar concentration. If it is gaseous, I will take 1 atmospheric pressure. So when these conditions are employed in terms of concentration being 1 molar and temperature being 25 degrees centigrade, normally we refer to them as standard conditions in electrochemistry. STP is different, I am not talking about that now. Standard condition here means this. And to indicate that, we put a not above that. Put a not above that. Now what type of reaction is? Is it not oxidation potential? So we write down below this OP. OP, oxidation potential. Naturally, there is no ambiguity about that. Now similarly, if you take copper plus 2 and if you are adding 2 electrons to this, don't we get copper? In that case, are you recognizing this is a reduction reaction? Therefore, what it should be called as E naught reduction potential RP. That is, as per the reality of a redox reaction, sorry, we are likely to have E naught oxidation potential, E naught reduction potential. But here we make a good assumption here. What we do is, instead of taking redox reaction and oxidation reaction or E naught RP and E naught OP, what we do is we consider as if all half reactions are reduction process only. The actual reality is not that, is it not? It could be oxidation or reduction. But what is the assumption we are making now? We are imagining all the half reactions are reduction potentials, E naught RP. That is even the first reaction. Therefore, if it is a reduction, I must write zinc plus 2. If it is reduction potential, how do you write it here? I will write down not like because this is oxidation. Zinc plus 2 electrons forming zinc. Does it look like reduction? Therefore, corresponding potential is E naught reduction potential. Bear that in mind. I repeat, a redox reaction must necessarily constitute two distinctive parts. Both cannot be reduction, both cannot be oxidation. One must be oxidation, other must be reduction, without doubt. But in this particular case, I am emphasizing the data I am going to present to you now will be all half reactions which look like reduction potentials only. In that case, how do you use that data? We'll talk in few minutes. But fundamentally, I want to take up all half reactions as reduction processes. Now, I will give you some data here. For example, this particular zinc, or let us imagine I will take a still simpler example with this. I am imagining I am taking sodium. Sodium is known to undergo this reaction quite fluently, sodium losing electron. It is the behavior of sodium. That means there is a slope of the electron to move away from sodium. Electron is lost. Therefore, that potential must be positive, is it not? The E naught must be positive. Some number for that positive number volts must come here. That is a natural gradient for electron to move away from sodium. In other words, if I give you a solution containing sodium ions, imagine if I am adding electrons by some means to that container, I don't think sodium ions will take electrons at all. That is, there is no question of sodium ion accepting electrons on its own. Spontaneously, that process will not take place. Therefore, if I am converting this to reduction now, therefore I have to reverse this process. This is positive. So what I am doing now, instead of writing that as an oxidation, as I told you, the convention is represent that as reduction process. So I will write down this here. Sodium plus electron, sodium. Now what is the thing that we are aware of? Sodium ion is not known to take the electron on its own. That means there is no gradient for electron to move towards sodium ion. Where is the gradient available? Sodium metal losing the electron, there is a gradient. There is a potential for that. That means this process, as I have written, the forward reaction is not possible. There is no gradient. There is no gradient here. In that case, what is the E naught value? That should be negative. RP. RP stands for reduction potential. Therefore, if I am writing like this, that is, I have converted a reality to my convention. What is the convention? It is where we are representing all half reactions as reduction processes. Now, what is the other half of the reaction? That is chlorine. I am rubbing this off here. That is chlorine. I am writing here. Cl2 half accepting an electron to form Cl minus. I think this takes place on its own. Chlorine molecule will definitely take up the electron on its own. I need not struggle for that. Therefore, if the gradient is like this, the electron is automatically moving to this, it has a positive gradient. Therefore, what is E naught Rp? E naught Rp will be positive. So if no, then why I am doing this here? Because once I want to have the data for all the half cells such that I must be able to have a comparison at one glance by browsing them. How do you go about now? If E naught value for a particular half reaction is negative, what does it mean? It means the reaction as written is not possible. And what is possible in that case is the reverse of that. What is happening in the reverse here? As expected, sodium loses electron to form Na+. Therefore, how do we interpret? How do we interpret the negative value here? That means first point is the reaction as written is not taking place. Point 1. Now, after coming to this conclusion, kindly focus on the product here. Product. Now, what is the information you are getting of the product? Product is losing electrons spontaneously. Therefore, if E naught value is negative, that means product is a reducing agent because it is donating electrons to something else. It helps in the other species to undergo reduction. So E naught value negative means the product in that half reaction, E naught value negative means the product in that half reaction is a reducing agent. Similarly, if E naught value is positive, the interpretation is simpler. The focus, because this reaction is taking place, focus on the reactant. Reactant is this. In that case, reactant is accepting electron. Therefore, what is happening here? It is undergoing reduction. Therefore, positive value means the reactant is an oxidizing agent. Let me summarize to this point. I will write down. If E naught Rp is negative for a particular half reaction. Now, which part of the half reaction is focusing on? The product. Product is not on the reactants. Product is a reducing agent. And if E naught value, reduction potential is positive, now which part of the half reaction is focusing there? On the reactant. Reactant is a oxidizing agent. Oxidizing agent. Therefore, if you have a glance at the what's called the tabular form where we have arranged all the data concerning the half reactions, can't we identify which is reducing agent, which is oxidizing agent? Because as I told you earlier also, a redox reaction, electrons are moving from reducing agent to oxidizing agent. Therefore, you must have a working knowledge about how do you identify reducing agent and how do you identify an oxidizing agent. To facilitate this, we are following a convention wherein all half cells are written as reduction process, and the interpretation is like this. If that E naught value is negative, focus on the product and recognize that as a reducing agent. If E naught value is positive, focus on the reactant of that half reaction and recognize that as an oxidizing agent. So having recognized oxidizing and reducing agents, we shall continue that with the next video. Once you are very clear about this, spend some time on this. Again, we shall meet. Thank you.